Okay, guys, I'm going over here and get my judge. I got my grown folks hair on. I got my savage clothes on. I'm ready for this damn heat. And I'm ready for these people. Because I'm going to vote. And ain't shit going to stop me. Not this song, not this heat. And y'all need to go on and get y'all judge and get y'all vote on. Because let me show you. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm going to get my damn judge. They could stand out there for 15 hours. I got my chair. They could stand out there for 24 hours. I got my snacks. I ain't going to play with these hoes. I'm going to vote. And I said, you go vote too.
All right, then. All right, then. Shout out to the old school, man. Shout out to the old school. Letting y'all know what the hell's going on the TikTok, man. Old ladies on the TikTok telling y'all to get y'all ass out to go vote. I appreciate and I approve that message, man. Real talk. But yo, man, this is episode number 314 of the Spann podcast. I am your host, Mr. Spann, and yo, man, it's been a week since the last time we talked. Of course, we do this every week, and I had to remind you guys every week how to get in touch with us over here at the Spann podcast and let your voice be heard. You can go ahead and hit us up at our hotline at area code 313-288-0485. This area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages, and of course, those messages will get played here live on the show and responded to in kind. And if you're watching us live here on YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope, you can hit that hotline up and chop it up with us live as we do the show. Area code 313-288-0485. You can also email us here at feedback@thespanreport.com. That's feedback@thespanreport.com. Go ahead and hit us up on those emails, and we will read those emails and reply to those here live on the show as well. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann, so you can go follow me there, chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also, hit up our website at www.thespanreport.com. You can go there, watch replays of the show. You can leave comments there. You can vote in the polls when we decide to put those polls up. You can donate to the show as often as you like, as much as you like. And of course, we really do appreciate every dime over here at the Spann Report Podcast Network, man. Real talk. But yeah, man, that's all for right now because we got a lot of shit to get to, man. We got a lot of stuff to cover over the course of the week. Some things have been happening, and we're going to get to them, man. But of course, before we do that, I got a few random thoughts, y'all. I got a few of them thoughts, man. They came up, they hit me up over the course of the week, and I was just kind of thinking of this, and I felt like I was sharing with you guys, man. Real talk. Now, my first random thought, man, is we kind of live in a time now where, like, I remember when Bluetooth was like in its early infancy and shit, and like you had to have like these really big headphones in order to have Bluetooth, or like the big ass earpieces and shit, or you had to have some sort of special hookup in your car in order to get like the Bluetooth hookup in the car or whatever, play the sounds and whatnot through your speakers or whatever. But we're at a part now where, like, Bluetooth is like coming pre-installed in your vehicle. It's like standard equipment. We got AirPods and Galaxy Buds and Pixel Buds and like all sorts of different little earpieces and shit you can use that are like, not all like all over the place, right? Like people don't even know you got one on half the time. I hate that shit because people be walking up talking to me while I'm trying to listen to my music. Like, leave me the fuck alone. But yo, man, I gotta ask. In a time where we got the Pixel Buds, the AirPods, and the Bluetooth enabled cars, why are there still people driving around with a phone up to their face? Like, why is that still a thing, man? Why y'all still riding around like this and shit? Like, you driving and shit, and you got your phone up like this here. Like, why y'all doing that, man? Like, cause you can't see all this shit on this side of the road. You can't see none of this shit. And I guess I'm sensitive to it because I work in construction, and sometimes I work in construction is in the street, and niggas ain't paying attention, B. And I'm trying to come home alive, man. You know how the police always talking about they want to come home alive? I'm trying to come home alive too. Put the goddamn phones down, man. Get you a Bluetooth or earpiece or something. I'm saying, use the motherfucking technology that's available to us right now, man. Real talk. Another random thought that I had, man. So, black fraternity members and white fraternity members, they hold the seriousness of their membership a lot differently, right? So I was at work, and just so happened one of my coworkers had a sweatshirt on, and it had a Masonic emblem on it. Now, I've been a Freemason. I haven't been active for a long time, very long time. I haven't been active, but I've been a Freemason since I was 22 years old, so going on 18 years. And I noticed that he had, the Masonic emblem on his sweatshirt, and I asked him about it, right? I tried him a little bit. I gave him something small, man, something that any Freemason would have been able to pick up on. And he couldn't really answer my question. As a matter of fact, he confused my question. He was like, yo, well, it takes me about an hour to get to work. Now, the brothers know exactly what I may have asked him by his response. They know what I asked him, but it was the wrong response for somebody who was supposed to know better. So so I'm like, man, you're not a Mason at all, are you? He's like, oh no, man, it's the Freemasons, they sponsored a fishing tournament that I was in. I'm like, the fishing tournament? Huh. Dig that. Now, it made me think back to when I first became like a Freemason and shit. Like anytime you saw anybody with a Masonic emblem on, like a ring or a hat, or they got it on their car or some shit, and like you would go, question them or whatever. And like brothers, like black brothers would take this shit seriously. They'd be ready to snatch your shit if you didn't know what you were supposed to know. Like they have all these catechisms or whatever. And like, if you didn't answer the question correctly, they'd be like, yo, man, unhand that, give me that shit, and have your worshipful master call me to get your shit back. Like, that's just really how they was rolling with it. Meanwhile, this white dude, oblivious to the whole seriousness of the whole thing, is like, it was a fishing tournament, And I wonder, like, are the brothers still operate like that? Like I said, I haven't been active for quite some time, but I wonder if the brothers are still out there on that bullshit, man. Like, imagine trying to take some shit from a nigga you don't really know, talking about have your worshipful master come give it to me. I don't know if that shit gonna work out the same way it used to back in the day, man. Real talk. But that was a random thought I had, man. We take that shit way too seriously. We do. Another random thought, man. So we found out a few weeks ago that Donald Trump was in debt, right? That Donald Trump owes over like $400 million to some folks. Donald Trump also like only paid like $750 in taxes and shit, right? And one of the biggest things that I came away with that was like you saw people on your social media, LLC Twitter, LLC Facebook or whatever. They were like, man, y'all hating on Donald Trump, man. Y'all hating and shit. But I could tell you how he did what he did, man. And you can get on the game too. Don't hate the player, hate the game, man. Learn how to play the game, and you too can get away with not paying your taxes like Donald Trump. And I can teach you, right? Like everybody had their little hustle on. They were trying to talk to you like you was a fucking fool because you was rightfully upset at the fact that, like, yo, man, this nigga Donald Trump like paid basically like rent for a studio apartment in New York, maybe for the whole year in taxes. He claims to be this billionaire and shit, but that's all he paid in taxes. But the thing is, like, all those people that were telling you that they could teach you how to do what Donald Trump did, the one thing that they never really talk about is the fact that Donald Trump was being audited, yo. Like, do you want to do the same thing that Donald Trump was doing, and then having the IRS all up in your shit trying to verify whether or not you paid the right amount in taxes? And I don't know if you really want them problems, man. I don't know if we really want those problems, but that's what was going on, man. Those have been some of my random thoughts, man. Just some things I was thinking about over the course of the week. But yo, man, y'all know what time it is. It's time for the news. All right, our first story here in the news, man, we get it here out of CNN.com, and it's basically saying that the U.S. is seeing a resurgence in COVID-19 cases, and the reason why those cases are going up is because small household gatherings are helping to drive it. Yeah, that's right. You niggas having little get-togethers at the crib. All right, so we're going to read the story here. Like I said, this comes out of CNN.com. It says that small gatherings are becoming a growing source of COVID-19 spread, a leading health expert said, as cases and hospitalizations are on the rise nationwide. In the public square, we're seeing a higher degree of vigilance and mitigation steps in many jurisdictions. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Director, Dr. Robert Redfield, said during a call with the nation's governors on Tuesday. Audio of the call was obtained by CNN. But what we're seeing as the increasing threat right now is actually acquisition of infection through small household gatherings, particularly with Thanksgiving coming up. We think it's really important to stress the vigilance of those continued mitigation steps in the household setting. Dr. Jonathan Reiner, professor of medicine at George Washington University, said Wednesday he'd advise people to consider not having indoor Thanksgiving dinners with others who aren't there in their immediate household. If you're lucky enough to live in a part of the country where the weather will be moderate in November, do an outdoor Thanksgiving. But I think in the places in the country where the winter comes early, I think you have to really be careful. The consequences of this virus, particularly for older folks, the people that we really want to gather with on Thanksgiving, can be really dire. And frankly, I'd rather do a Zoom Thanksgiving with people that I love than to expose them to something that might kill them. So, yeah, man, here's the thing. Like, just recently, man, I was invited to a birthday party / bonfire and whatnot. And I already had reservations about it because like some of the people that were there, I know had recently had COVID-19 or had been had contracted the coronavirus, and like they were just, you know, mingling as if everything was everything, much like Donald Trump has been operating, right? Like Donald Trump acts as though like, okay, so I got it, now I'm immune and I can just go out here and just be acting recklessly. And truthfully speaking, we don't know how that affects everyone else around you, so to speak, right? Like, and you could still be shedding virus, you could still be contagious to a degree, and you can give that virus to someone else, and then they can give that virus to someone who's vulnerable to it. And you know, no one wants to really think along, you know, no one really wants to think that far ahead. Everybody's, I think there's a coronavirus fatigue. Like folks are tired of wearing a mask. I know, you know, it gets frustrating when you step up out of your car and you like forget that you got your mask or you don't have a mask, and then like the store don't let you in. They're like, oh nigga, you got to go get your mask. Like, fuck, I got to walk all the way back there, right? Like a whole lot of people feel that way, you know, feel that way. But also, man, like we haven't taken the drastic steps needed in order to curb this virus. And of course, that shit comes from the top. But we as a country haven't done the drastic steps needed in order to curb the virus in order for us to get back to some level of normalcy. So the fact that people are already just saying fuck it and having like small family gatherings and get-togethers and birthday parties and stuff like that. I mean, I get it. You want to get with your people. Trust and believe I want to get with my people too, but there's still the risk of, you know, folks being able to pass on COVID-19. And as careful as you may be with like the COVID-19, you can't guarantee that everybody else is going to be as careful as you are. So, yeah, man, we're seeing a rise in cases all over the country, and it's coming upon a time where we, you know, folks are going to vote, not only just going to vote, but also you got the holidays coming up. As they said, Halloween's coming up, Thanksgiving's coming up, Christmas coming up, New Year's is coming up. All of these holidays are coming up, and people are going to want to get together. And it's going to be real interesting to see how folks are able to cope, or if they decide they're going to cope at all and just say fuck it and get together anyway. You know, it's going to be real interesting to see how that plays out. But yo, that's in the news. Another story that we got here in the news is Wells Fargo has just fired over 100 employees for misappropriating coronavirus relief funds, man. Yeah, man, we get this story here. This actually comes out of ballalert.com. So it says more than 100 employees have been terminated by Wells Fargo and Company for allegedly inappropriately receiving coronavirus relief funds. According to a source with information on the matter, the company found out that employees made false representations in applying for coronavirus relief funds for themselves. An internal memo obtained by Bloomberg stated employees defrauded the Small Business Administration to get economic injury disaster loans that were set in place by the government to provide assistance to businesses amid the pandemic. David Gallarisi, Wells Fargo's head of human resources, released a memo that stated, we have terminated the employment of those individuals and will cooperate fully with law enforcement. Those wrongful actions were personal actions and do not involve our customers. Wells Fargo employees who could have received aid for businesses they may have had as a second source of income. The bank, however, discovered mounting evidence that many employees received aid by widely abusing the program. Banks have the ability to check accounts of their staff to see who received aid. JP Morgan Chase and Company looked into their employees' accounts and found that over 500 received aid, dozens from that number doing so fraudulently. SBA is aware of what's going on and asks banks to be on alert for suspicious deposits to members' accounts as well as staff accounts. Bloomberg Businessweek estimates that at least $1.3 billion has been paid out suspiciously, the Washington Post report. So, yeah, man. Folks out here scamming. I mean, it's sad to say that is to be expected in a time like this, man. Folks out here scamming. Folks seeing that there was money to be like had out here, and they took advantage of that opportunity. The thing is, when you're running up against the United States government and tracking that money, when you're dealing with these financial institutions, they got ways to tracking that shit. And you may think you being slick, you may think you being smart about some shit. You may believe that. Trust and believe there's somebody behind that program that's a little bit smarter than you, and they'll find your ass. And Wells Fargo finding at least 100 people and firing them. And like, it's funny, like they said, only dozens, only a couple dozens of the folks over at Chase Bank. But yo, man, I'm not surprised, man. Like people are where there's an advantage to be had, people will try to take it. And so It's unfortunate that they would take advantage of those funds that were supposed to be meted out to companies who like to keep their businesses open, to keep people getting paid and everything else. But we seeing all that extra fraudulent money showing itself up in fucking Instagram live videos, and people are, on Twitter and shit. They doing a whole lot of fraudulent stuff to impress a bunch of people that they don't know and don't care fuck about them, right? So yeah, man. Be careful, scammers, because they on your ass. All right, be careful, scammers, because they on your ass. That's in the news. Another story that we got here in the news is the California Republicans, man, are bold with their voter suppression tactics. As a matter of fact, they have absolutely refused to remove their illegal ballot drop boxes that they've placed all over the state of California.
Well, that'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
All right, we get the story here. This comes out of yahoonews.com. It says the California Republican Party said it would not comply with State Attorney General Xavier Becerra's order to remove unofficial ballot drop boxes, which officials say are illegal. The state GOP admitted that it was responsible for erecting fake official drop boxes in front of churches, gun stores, and gyms. Secretary of State Alex Padilla said the boxes had been set up in violation of the law. Becerra and Padilla on Monday sent cease and desist letters to the GOP, which ordered the party to remove the collection boxes in Los Angeles, Orange, and Fresno counties. Anyone who knowingly engages in the tampering or misuse of the vote is subject to prosecution. Becerra said during a Monday news conference with Padilla, which he called the boxes fake. It is illegal to tamper with a citizen's vote, the Attorney General continued. The boxes were not permitted by state law, Padilla said, adding that if they refuse to comply, we will, of course, entertain all of our legal options. Hector Barajas, a spokesperson for the California Republican Party, told the New York Times that the GOP would not comply with the order and instead continue to set up the boxes without adding any label identifying them as a Republican effort. Barajas argued that a 2016 law allowed ballot harvesting, which allows a third party to submit mail ballots on voters' behalf and protects the practice. There is nothing in any of the laws or regulations cited that an advisory that indicate private organization drop boxes are not permitted. The way Democrats wrote the law, if we want to use a Santa bag, we could. A locked heavy box seems a lot safer. So check this out, man. We've talked quite a bit on this show in particular about voter suppression and the importance of getting out the vote early, and because we don't want to run into any sort of issues come election day with there not being enough ballot polling places, with them closing polling places in largely Republican controlled counties, largely Republican controlled states, closing polling places in where they have large amounts of where they would consider Democratic strongholds, or where they have large minority populations. And so for the California Republican Party to openly and brazenly just be like, you know what, man, fuck it, we're gonna do this voter suppression out in the open, and I'll be damned, and we dare the motherfucking Attorney General and the Secretary of State to do something, is crazy as shit. It's like the audacity of these motherfuckers, right? And so the other part that I think is interesting is that they absolutely don't have any qualms at all about being seen as suppressing the vote. Right. We talked about, there was a story in Texas where Ohio. Well, I'm getting confused now because there's so many different stories about this. But in Ohio, where the governor, I forget who it was. But what they tried to do was they tried to make it to where like one county gets one drop box per county. Right. So like you could have a county where like it's a rural area and there's not a lot of people there. And like, they're not going to be overwhelmed by the amount of people who are able to get to that county clerk and drop off their ballot. But if you're dealing with a place like where Cincinnati may be, or where Cleveland may be, where there's a significant more amount of people there, that's a hell of a thing to try to get all of those people to get to that place, that one place that you allow for ballots to be dropped off. So you got that going on. And in Texas, they tried to do something similar. Right, where you can only have one drop box per county, right? And then in Texas, it's a thing of geography where like you may have a county bigger than the whole fucking state, right? Because Texas is such a huge place. So like they are going through these efforts to try to mitigate the amount of people whom they believe are going to vote. Because here's the thing: people are activated right now. people really do feel an urgency to get out and vote because of everything that's going on, especially at the top of the ticket right now with Donald Trump being there. So you got a lot of people who are animated, who are activated, who want to make sure that their voices are being heard, and they're taking advantage of these early polling, the early voting to a record number. I think they said over 20 million people have already voted early. My vote was submitted, it was received September 28th. I got that shit in early. I was not playing around. Right. And so you got a lot of people who have the same idea. They want to get the votes in early. And then you got the Republican Party like, OK, so we're going to try to confuse some of these folks. We'll put in these drop boxes and say they're ballot drop boxes and everything else. But if we can get enough people to put their ballots into these fraudulent drop boxes, we may be able to curb some of the enthusiasm. We may be able to curb some of the vote tally, because we've effectively stolen some of these ballots. Right? It's a brazen motherfucking thing that they're doing right now. It's brazen. So yeah, man. The fact that like the Republican Party in California knows that they are that they just like, yo, we this is what we're gonna do, and like right now, I really want to see how forceful the Secretary of State is going to be there and the Attorney General is going to be there in prosecuting possible voter fraud, voter suppression, because that's essentially what this is. And the tripped out part about this is that, like with Republicans, they always talking about being the place of, law and order, rule of law, they talk about voter fraud while actually engaging in it. Most of the instances that we know of when it comes to voter fraud involves Republicans trying to do it, right? There was a story that came out in Kansas where there was I believe a woman who was running for Congress who was openly talking about just redrawing a district so that they can get a Democratic congresswoman basically written up out of her own district just by, gerrymandering, right? They're brazen with their shit. There's video evidence all over the place. So yeah, man, that's in the news. California Republicans refusing to comply with the Attorney General's order to remove them goddamn fake ass ballot boxes, man. Real talk. Yeah, and my man Jack is in the like that was in Texas. It's happening all over, man. That's the thing. It's happening all over. Real talk. But yo, that's in the news. Another story that we got here in the news. As a matter of fact, we talking about Donald Trump. Donald Trump. $400 million is peanuts as he admits to and downplays a massive debt during the town hall meeting, man. Uh-oh.
Well, that'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
More so like,
ho, brother, whoa. Now, you got too much dip on your chip.
Yes, indeed. So we read the story here. This comes out of rollingstone.com. It says, after 3 straight nights of bragging about his greatness and dancing on to the village people in front of his most devoted supporters, President Trump ran into a buzzsaw in Miami on Thursday. Unlike his rallies, the town hall hosted by NBC took place in reality, and a confused, exceptionally moist Trump spent the better part of the hour wilting questions from moderator Savannah Guthrie. You know what? So check this out. This is true, right? This man's face was moist. I've never seen a moist face in all my like he had an orange, like he had the orange thing, but like right here, man, it was like really just wet. And I don't know if he was drooling or if he was sweating or what, but it just like his whole face just moist. So they got that right. Shout out to the details here in the Rolling Stone, man. It says Trump's flop sweat may have been glistening the brightest when Guthrie grilled him on his taxes, a subject of intense speculation since his initial refusal to release his returns prior to the 2016 election. His financial cycle back to the spotlight late last month after the New York Times reported that finding that the president only paid $750 in income taxes for years, and that he currently is at least $421 million in debt. Trump has, for the most part, dodged addressing the report, but Guthrie pressed him over the particulars at length on Thursday. Now, there's video of this. I think I have access to it. Let me see if I can pull the video up of him actually answering this question. Where is it? Okay, so let me go ahead and do this here. So there it is. Let me pull this up so you guys can see. You can watch right along with me here. And suddenly, the internet wants to slow the fuck down. Oh, Lord. Why you doing this to me? Okay, here it is. It's part of this tweet here. Let's go ahead.
But there was like a feeding frenzy. This was originally when I filed it. And I filed it every year. I update it every year. My son is here. They run the company. I don't run the company.
It also says that you paid $750 in taxes in the year you were elected. Is that true or not?
It's a statutory number. It's a statutory.
But is that true?
I think it's a filing number. You pay $750. It's a filing or filing fee.
Most people here probably pay more.
No, I don't know. I can tell you this. If they have my tax returns, as you know, they have to go to jail. It's illegal. But their numbers were wrong. But let me tell you what else. I don't owe money to any of these sinister people. This has been going on for years now. Russia. It turned out to be a hoax. And it turned out to be that Hillary Clinton and the Democrats were dealing with Russia, not me. It's a whole hoax. So I would not mind at all saying who it is, but it's a very small. When you look at vast.
I would not mind saying at all who it is, but I ain't about to say who it is. like you be double talking the whole fucking time, bro.
Properties like I have, and they're big and they're beautiful and they're well located. When you look at that, the amount of money, $400 million, is a peanut. It's extremely underlevered, and it's levered with normal banks. Not a big deal.
All right, let's take.
Now, check this out, man. So Donald Trump says, okay, so he owes $420 some odd million to somebody, right? He owes that money to somebody. Now, he didn't deny him owing anybody. He was like, yeah, you know, so if I owe them, it's peanuts. But the thing is, $420 million, if you're in debt to somebody to that degree, and they decide they wanted to sell your debt to somebody else, say, for instance, if it were I don't know, maybe an adversary to this nation, and now you owe an adversary to this nation $420 million, and they're like, listen here, you need to pay this debt up, or we gonna, we gonna bomb an American city or some shit like that. That's a national security threat. Him owing that amount of money to somebody, and he's been real cagey about his his income and everything else. But truthfully speaking, man, if you owe that kind of money to anybody, that's a hell of a lot of money. Now he's calling it peanuts. Remember how much shit they gave Mitt Romney during a Republican debate when he was asking folks whether or not they would take him up on a $10,000 bet, right? And how how unattached he was to the American populace that he would just throw around a $10,000 bet like that. You know, like $10,000 is still a lot of money to a lot of folks, man. And so here we are in a pandemic where you got a whole bunch of people who lost their jobs, who are trying to figure out how in the fuck they're going to make ends meet, who are trying to figure out how they're going to pay for their health care because he's in court right now trying to get the Obamacare taken out. And he's on a town hall saying him owing someone $400 million is peanuts. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's like the whole thing, man. Like, with Donald Trump, man, I can't wait for us to get to a time, and hopefully it'll be soon, but I can't wait for us to get to a time where like you can go pretty much a week damn near before you even think about what the fuck the president is doing. You know what I'm saying? Like there used to be times when like you didn't really have to think about what the hell president was going on because like the president was just like being presidential and shit, right? The good old days where you can actually just go about your motherfucking and not worry about the president of the United States like being an existential threat to your fucking existence, right? So yeah, man, that's been the news. But y'all know what time it is.
What in blue blazes is going on out here? This nigga just say blue blazes.
All right, our first story here in Blue Blazes is Cardi B, man. Cardi B is in Blue Blazes, and the reason why Cardi B is in Blue Blazes is because y'all remember that whole divorce thing she was saying she was gonna get with Offset? Well, apparently that divorce shit is off.
God damn!
Yeah, man. We get this story here. This comes out of TMZ.com. And Cardi B is confirming what our own eyes have been telling us. She and Offset are back together, and to hell with that pending divorce. During the rapper's birthday celebration last weekend and another outing in Atlanta together this week, they seem way more like a happily married couple than exes moving on. And Cardi says the reason is pretty simple. So there's video attached to this. So let me go ahead and pull the video up so you guys can watch right along with me. And hopefully the Comcast don't act like it's gonna get real slow on us like it did before. But let's see what the hell Cardi talking about.
And a lot of people been harassing me About what? Also,
Listen, y'all. I'm just a crazy bitch. You know how I be arguing with y'all on social media? That's exactly how I be arguing with me and my man. So when people be saying I be doing shit for attention, when this and that, no, I'm just a crazy bitch. One day I'm happy, the next day I want to beat her up and fucking I'm gonna teach your ass, motherfucker. You think I'm motherfucking playing with your ass? You gonna see. And then I don't know. Then it's just like I start missing. I just be starting to like it's hard. It's hard not to talk to your best friend. You know what I'm saying? It's really hard not to talk to your best friend, and it's really hard to have no dick. And then it's just like I don't know.
Just admit that you're the crazy one. You just need to admit it. You're crazy and you're bipolar.
I'm not bipolar.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm not bipolar because I took a test.
But I think you're bipolar.
I don't know. No, I know. Literally, I'm not bipolar because I took a test, so I know that I'm bipolar. It's just like I don't know. I'm just a crazy bitch. But you know what I'm saying? Like, and then people just trying to tell people been saying that I took him back, like I'm materialistic. I do like material things. I like material things and everything, but I just didn't take it. What do you want me to do? Did I give me a Rolls Royce and I snuff him? Like, no. And I really wanted something for my birthday, really. I'm really. We're just really typical two folks, two young motherfuckers. Got married early. That's what we are. That's what we are. We're not no different than fucking dysfunctional ass relationships. We are the same way.
All right. So yeah, she said that she's crazy and she got back with him because she missed talking to her best friend. Also, she missed the dick. So check this out, man. I know a lot of folks like we're looking at this and they're like, man, I knew she was gonna get back with that nigga, man. She doing this shit for motherfucking attention, man. This some bullshit, man. And like y'all know people like this all the time, man. Y'all know people like this in your everyday lives, man. There's always somebody in your circle, somebody in your crew who is in a relationship, and all they do is they come in when they get with y'all. Here's what they do. They tell you all the shit that's going on in their relationship. They tell you about all the shit that they tired of. They tell you about all the shit that they can't stand no more. They tell you about all the things that gets on their nerves with this person, and you sit there and you listen. You like, yup, man, that's crazy. Yeah, man. So what you do? You really said that? Oh, you ain't say that? Oh, okay. So what you gonna do? Because the whole time you sitting there, you like, so what you gonna do? The real question in your head is, so what you gonna do? Because they gonna keep talking this shit. They will continue to talk this shit for years. This is just what they do. This is part of their, you got to kind of let your friends vent and shit. And so what's going on with Cardi a lot of times, well, this is what I suspect. What I think is going on with Cardi is that Cardi is one of those people who like, she's grown up. She's one of these kids, like she's grown up where social media has always been there. And so with social media having always been there, the first thing that they know to do is to grab a phone, get on social media, tell everybody what the fuck they going through, and then everybody has an opinion as to what's going on with them. Everybody feels like, okay, so now that you've made me a part of my business, I'm gonna give you my opinion on the shit. And then when she goes back to her husband, everybody's looking at her like she crazy, when really it's just the same thing that you deal with, only on a much smaller scale, right? Cardi B is young, man. Cardi B is young, and like they are young. Like, you know, whether or not she gets back with her husband, truthfully, is really none of our business. And the only reason why we talk about it on like a show like mine or a show like TMZ or anything else is because they make it public fodder. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, like, yo, she got back with her husband. Like, I mean, how many of y'all are like upset? Is he whooping her ass or anything? Like, I know, like, I don't want y'all to misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm saying that, like, some people, it's going to take for them to get tired of the treatment that they're receiving. And when they get tired of the treatment that they're receiving, that's when they have to make the decision to move on, right? I learned that lesson years ago, man. I used to do the same thing with my daughter's mama. Like, call home and like be like, man, this is some bullshit, man. This girl crazy, this, that, and the other. And like my people would listen to me. You know what I'm saying? They would listen. And then like eventually got to a point where like, nah, I can't do this shit no more. And I meant it. And it's been like what 15 years since. So so yeah, man. That's in Blue Blazers, man. Cardi B and Offset are back together. The divorce appears to be off. And yes, this is live right now. We are live right now. Also, let's see what else we got here in Blue Blazers. Another story we got is Snoop Dogg, man. Snoop Dogg has apparently recorded himself registering to vote for the first fucking time. Yeah, man. So we get this story here. This comes out of rollingout.com. It says that Snoop Dogg recorded himself in a humorous video as he proudly went through the process of registering to vote for the first time in his life. The Dogfather architect, who was born as Calvin Cortazar Broadus Jr. in Long Beach, California, almost 49 years ago, his birthday is October 20th, is imploring his fans and others to get involved in the political process. During a recent interview on the Big Boys Neighborhood podcast, Snoop humbly admitted that he was hoodwinked into the belief as a former felon he was barred from voting for life. He says the multiple national crises unleashed in the United States in 2020 inspired him to research and find out that indeed he can become a part of the electorate. I ain't never voted a day in my life, but this year I think I'm going to get out and vote because I can't stand to see this punk in office one more year, Snoop told Big Boy. For many years, they had me brainwashed thinking that you couldn't vote because you had a criminal record. I didn't know that. My record's been expunged, so now I can vote. Not only did he find out that he can cast his ballot, Snoop found out that the process is not nearly as daunting or complex as the first-time voter may think. Actually, it's rather simplistic. The quick, the gin and juice rapper testifies. The only possible hiccup Snoop discovered while filling out his online form for the YouTube page is for citizens with a criminal record who could get discouraged from completing the voter registration process. This is the shit I was talking about, Snoop exclaimed. This will be the discouraging moment at the end of the vote registration for me. But guess what? It's not. Fuck what they talking about. Snoop, therefore, is a staunch advocate of California's Proposition 17, which would enable parolees to vote in the state of California. And yeah, so there's that. So here's the thing, man. I remember when I initially saw the headline that Snoop Dogg is voting or registering to vote for the first time, I was just like, I ain't gonna lie. I was like, man, what the fuck, man? Like, what's wrong with y'all? Right? I had to read the article, man. I had to read the article in order to figure out that the reason why Snoop hadn't been voted because he was a felon. He was under the impression that he couldn't vote. And truthfully, there's a lot of places across the nation where felons still are fighting for their right to vote after having served their time for the crimes that they were convicted of. We talked about what's going on in Florida, where they had a referendum on the ballot, and it was supported by the citizens to give former felons the right to vote. And then what did the Republican legislature and the governor of that state do? They said, well, okay, you guys can do it, but you got to pay these fines and restitution fees off first before we can allow you guys to vote, right? Totally throwing a poll tax on their ability to go vote. Like, never mind that they've already paid their debt to society with the time. Like, now, okay, so now you got to pay all these monies before we allow you to vote. And so one of the things that I saw had happened over the course of a few months ago was that billionaire Mike Bloomberg, who had been running for the Democratic nominee, he was running to become a Democratic nominee for president, has decided that he would actually put up some monies to like help pay for the restitution and the fines that some of these felons owe or former felons owe in order for them to have their franchise restored. So yeah, man, like this is also a part of the voter suppression that a lot of Republicans are advocating for, man. It's like to keep a lot of people out of the know. And so Snoop Dogg is walking around here almost 49 years old, thinking that he couldn't vote because of his past, his criminal past, when actually his record was expunged and he was good to go. He could have been voting. So as much as I know, like a lot of people would be like, yo, man, man, how you motherfuckers gonna be out here acting like y'all don't know when to go vote, this, that, y'all need to go look this shit up. Like, I hear y'all. I hear you, because trust and believe, I'll be on that shit sometimes too. But like, also, hey man, congratulations. You know what I'm saying? Because this is ultimately what we want folks to do. We want them to register to vote. We want them to go out there and exercise that franchise. We want them to actually get this motherfucker Trump about the paint. So yeah, man, Snoop Dogg registers to vote for the first time. You know, last time we talked about Snoop, it was on some other shit. So it's actually kind of good to see him us being able to talk about Snoop in a much different light, man. Real talk. Now, another story that we got here in Blue Blazers is Pastor Jamal Bryant is upset with some of the ladies in his congregation, y'all. As a matter of fact, Pastor Jamal Bryant is upset with the practice of burning sage, and he calls that shit, guess what, y'all? Motherfucking satanic aromatherapy. God damn! Yeah, man. So we're going to read the story here. Let me pull this up real quick. We're going to read this story. Where did I get this story from? This comes out of Christian Post, christianpost.com. Okay. So it says, calling sage burning witchcraft and satanic aromatherapy, Pastor Jamal Bryant of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in Stonecrest, Georgia, warned his members on Monday to stay away from the practice. In a teaching session with the women of his church streamed on YouTube, Bryant explained that he had to dive into some research on the practice after 2 members of his church gifted him sage for his new home in Atlanta. I was amazed because 2 saints gave me sage for my new house. I didn't know what to do with it, and I was unsure of it. And all the more why they felt comfortable giving it to a pastor. Then I began to research and study it and found out that that the sales of it had gone up over 200% in the last 4 years and had to be constantly placed on restock in natural health stores. After researching the practice, however, Brian has concluded that it is a demonic new age practice that Christians shouldn't be involved with. Another word for sage burning is smudging. The thought of the Native Americans is that the certain herbs carry spirits in them, and when you burn certain herbs, you're calling on those spirits to dispel evil or vexing spirits or energies from a space, from an object or a person. And so it is their contention that when I am burning sage, I am then calling down a spirit or calling up a spirit to then wrestle with that energy that's in the room, that's in a car, or in a person, Brian argued. Now, here's the thing, man. You know what? I hear you. I hear you, Bryant. I hear Jamal Bryant. You know, you're trying to walk straight down your Christian path. You're trying to walk straight down the Christian path. And I hear you, brother. I do. But here's the thing. It's kind of hard to listen to Pastor Jamal Bryant talk about, this being demonic and it being satanic aromatherapy and all these things. When Pastor Jamal Bryant been cheating on his wife for a long time, man. Like, as a matter of fact, I think his wife or ex-wife, I don't know what the situation is right now. I know, like, she was the ex-wife. She's on, like, the Housewives of Potomac or something like that. And maybe they're trying to get back together and everything. And I know she caught a lot of flack, too, because she be talking like she holier than the motherfucker. Like, wait, when your husband cheating on you multiple times and shit? How you going to, like, they real on some holier than thou kind of shit, right? But Jamal Bryant be out here slanging that dick far and wide, and it ain't got shit to do with Giselle. As a matter of fact, I got a little bit of audio of Jamal Bryant. When everybody was bringing it up that he was cheating on his wife, Jamal Bryant had something to say about that shit. Check it out, y'all.
I see that on this morning, I have messed up the mindset of some of you phony, fake ass, not doing a damn thing in the community, holier than thou as church folk. First of all, fuck you. Okay. Second of all, you have an issue with me being on a picture with a beautiful black woman. Let me set the record straight. I am a pastor, first of all, that feeds the hungry. I'm a pastor that has a girls, a boys, and a woman's mentoring program. I teach empowerment on a daily basis. Yes, I'm a pastor that likes pussy. Can I say it again? I like pussy. I'm a real man. I'm real about who I am. And remember that God made woman for the man. So you phony, fake ass folk, when you're doing the things that I do in the community, then you got something to say. Other than that, on this Tuesday, fuck you.
I'm sorry. I should be clear. That wasn't actually Pastor Jamal Bryant. That was Thaddeus Matthews, the cussing pastor. But the sentiment's still the same. I feel like Jamal Bryant privately be saying that shit in private company, man. I feel like Jamal Bryant, like, man, fuck y'all. You know what I'm saying? I like pussy, and but I'm still a Christian. I'm still a pastor, and that's still satanic aromatherapy. So yeah, man. That's in Blue Blazers, man. Another story that we got here in Blue Blazers. This story isn't quite so funny. Apparently there was a woman from Detroit. She went to Las Vegas for a little girls trip with her sisters and whatnot. And on a flight back home from Las Vegas, she woke up to some motherfucker pissing on her. Yeah, man. As a matter of fact, there's video to this. I'm not about to read this story. There's actual video to this. Let me pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with me here. This comes out of fox2detroit.com. All right, here we go. And let's see what they're talking about here, man, because this is crazy. I saw this story like, God damn.
It was the red-eye flight from Las Vegas. Pretty much everyone on board was sleeping. One woman in the back was woken up in the most disturbing way.
I've never been more ready to come back home until the end.
Detroiter Alicia Beverly could not wait to get back, ironically, from Sin City.
It's just a girls trip. I was with my sister.
Did you guys have fun?
Yeah, have fun.
Monday night, curled up in a back seat next to her sister on board a Delta flight. Alicia was asleep until
it started to get warm on this side of me.
In that sleepy haze, right at eye level, something unexpected.
I jump up and I seen his private area out, so I screamed and that woke everybody on the plane up. By the time I actually looked at him and I see him shaking himself off, I'm like, this man just peed on me.
Her scream getting the attention of an off-duty officer on board.
In the midst of me doing all that, I looked, there was like a puddle of pee in the seat.
Alicia says the officer rushed over, restraining the man, who turned out to be a well-known pastor from North Carolina. Sources tell us the pastor had an apparent bad reaction to a sleep aid.
He didn't say anything the whole time he was standing there.
Just like you were a bathroom.
Yeah.
Alicia sat in those wet clothes for hours before landing at Detroit Metro, where the pastor was taken into custody. He hasn't been charged yet. The FBI handles incidents in the air. They'll make a decision on charges. Meanwhile, Alicia is filled with anxiety.
I left work yesterday because I couldn't stay, but I had to tell them why I needed to leave because it was a lot. Like, my anxiety was really that I literally, since then, I probably only got maybe like 4 hours of sleep.
She's grateful, though, for the officer who took charge.
I'm literally very thankful that he was on there and something was able to be done right away, and it wouldn't have been like my word against his. It was somebody on there to actually see.
We spoke with the pastor's camp by phone. They're choosing not to comment right now. As for Delta, they referred us to local police. Reporting in Romulus, Jessica Dupnack, Fox 2 News.
All right. So, yeah, man, I saw this story now. First of all, I was just like, how in the fuck, right? Man just gets up, pisses on somebody on a plane, and like, just how does that even fucking happen, right? And so one of the questions that I also had outside of how the fuck did something like that happen is, why is it that they decided that they were not going to reveal the name of the pastor who did this, right? Like, he's supposed to be some sort of well-known pastor. Why is his name being, concealed, or why isn't he being identified or whatever? Like, what's up with that? Like, she's out here, she's telling her story. You could tell this woman has been humiliated. She said, like, she had to come home from work because her anxiety was high. She had to tell these people why she couldn't really stay at work. And this is the reason why. And here you got this supposedly well-known pastor from North Carolina, and nobody knows who the fuck it is at this point, right? So I had that question. The other part about that, the question I had was, like, they're blaming this on the fact that he supposedly had a bad reaction to a sleep aid, like Ambien or some shit. Like, first of all, he got up out of his seat, right? He got up out of his seat. He walked down the airplane aisle, stopped and pissed on somebody, right? You mean to tell, like, was he sleepwalking? And how do you, like, because I don't know how the sleepwalking shit works, man. Like, do you sleepwalk? Like, do you know you on a plane when you sleepwalking? Do you know, like, when you going to, like, how does that even work? Like, how do you, like, sleepwalk and then pull your shit out, piss on somebody, and, like, yeah, man, I just feel bad for that sister, man. I do. I do, man, and I'm more so like kind of upset that they have still to right now. I think this happened a few days ago, but we still don't even know who the fuck the pissing pastor is. As the homie Jack is in the chat room, like the pissing pastor. Yeah, we still don't know who the fuck it is though, and that's the thing that's pissing me off, right? No pun intended. But yeah, man, that's in Blue Blazes. Another story that we got here in Blue Blazes is Bill Burr, man. Bill Burr is in Blue Blazes. And the reason why Bill Burr is here on Blue Blazes is because he did a monologue last week on Saturday Night Live. And apparently Bill Burr got the white folks, like the white women in particular, all in the tizzy. Because he actually came for them, man. Like he came for them in a real strong way about their usurpation of the woke movement, so to speak. So we got this video here. This is actually from his monologue on Saturday Night Live. So let me go ahead and pull this up. I don't want to play the entire monologue, so let me go to the point where he's actually talking the most egregious shit. All right, so let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with me. Okay, here we go. Check this out, y'all.
Plowing ahead. Let's talk white women here, shall we? Let's talk white women. You're amazing your accomplishments over the last few years. I got to tell you, the way white women somehow hijacked the woke movement, generals around the world should be analyzing this. Just to refresh your memory, the woke movement was supposed to be about people of color not getting opportunities, the at-bats that they deserve, finally making that happen. And it was about that for about 8 seconds. And then somehow, white women swung their Gucci-booted feet over the fence of oppression and stuck themselves at the front of the line. I don't know how they did it. I've never heard so much complaining in my life from white women. My life is so hard with my SUV and my heated seats. You have no idea what it's like to be me. Trash and white guys. The nerve. Where's the camera? The nerve of you white women. Listen, I don't want to speak ill of my bitches here, okay? I don't. But let's go back in history here, okay? You guys stood by us toxic white males through centuries of our crimes against humanity. You rolled around in the blood money. And occasionally, when you wanted to sneak off and hook up with the black dude, if you got caught, you said it wasn't consensual. Yeah, that's what you did. So why don't you shut up, sit down next to me, and take your talking to.
All right. So yeah, that particular bit right there had Bill Burr trending all over Twitter and shit last week. White folks mad in the motherfucker at this man. And here's the thing, right? So there was like Bill Burr, he has his moments, right? Like, because there was a time where people were trying to cancel Bill Burr, much like folks like, you know, talking about canceling Dave Chappelle and everything else. And I like most of the work that I remember Bill Burr from was from his work on the Chappelle show. So like, and he had a podcast. I listened to it years ago. I haven't listened to it in quite some time, but like Bill Burr comes across like sort of a dick, right? Like you could even, it comes across even in like his shtick on stage as far as his stand-up is concerned. So he comes across sort of a dick. And so like sometimes the people that were looking to cancel you can also be like, you know what? I get that. He's right on that one. He actually has a motherfucking point. And I agree. I approve that message, you know? And so that's what was happening on Twitter, was like a whole bunch of people like, well, nigga got a point, man. He ain't lying about that one. And like white people was like, you know, like white women were like very motherfucking offended. And like you had a whole bunch of black people on the social media like, hey, hold on, pump your brakes now. Pump your brakes. Like you hear him out here for a minute, because you know, y'all need to shut the fuck up and listen sometime too. You know what I'm saying? You had a whole bunch of that shit going on. But yo, man, I'm just saying, like it was just kind of weird to like kind of watch like the people who like were supposed to be canceled come, you know, full circle and be like, you know, hailed somewhat, you know. And it's almost like it's that thing of a broken clock being right twice a day, right? Sometimes even the people you do not fucking agree with on the vast majority of shit will come around one time and say some shit you can't deny it. You be like, you know what? They got a point, man. They got a point. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons why Bill Burr actually had a countable point is because I got this video, man, and it kind of speaks to the usurpation that some white people will take this in this particular instance, a white woman, and making the civil rights movements and the level of discrimination that minorities tend to have, making it all about them. So here's a video of a white woman upset that a store clerk would not let her in the establishment because she refused to wear a mask per the store's coronavirus protocols and whatever else. This woman actually has the audacity to invoke the 1964 Civil Rights Act as a reason why he should not be allowed to keep her out of that goddamn store. So let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with. Check this out, y'all. This is kind of funny, man. Let's listen in.
There is no one in the store.
There's me in the store.
There's you. So you stand 7,000 feet away from me.
Ma'am, I'm just trying to do my job.
Here, and I'm trying to make sure that I have rights. So you're going to hear that they're actually going. You'll make sure to hear that in the end. You're the one who decided, not me.
Okay, fine.
So, yep, I'll just stand right here because I'm here. I've driven 20 minutes out. I'll drive 20 minutes back just for my babies who are hungry.
911, what's your emergency?
She actually called 911.
As per the 1964 Civil Rights Act, I cannot be discriminated against. I do have a right to be able to breathe O2, not CO2, and I am being discriminated against right now at a store. So,
are you calling to report something now?
Yes, that I am not being allowed into the store because I'm being discriminated against.
Because you would not like to wear a mask.
Discriminated against. And what store are you at?
It's called Bones and Scones, and I'm being discriminated against because I'm being told I need to wear a mask.
Okay, so first things first. Per the 1964 Civil Rights Act, I am being discriminated against because they won't let me in the store because I'm not wearing a mask. Like, nigga, what? Nigga, what? See, this is what lends credence to the shit that Bill Burr was talking about. Like, you would take something that was designed to level the playing field for people of color, minorities, black folks, however you describe folks. You would take that to try to make this about you not being able to come into this particular store without a mask. And you called 911 of all of the things, right? Of all of the things that 911 folks, that the emergency responders have to respond to. You're not being allowed in a store is not a fucking emergency. If your kids were that goddamn hungry, guess what? There's a McDonald's down the street that got to drive through. There's a Taco Bell down the street that got to drive through. Hell, you can wait in that long ass Popeyes line, get one of them sandwiches if you want to, right? But you called 911. She called fucking 911 and invoked the 1964 Civil Rights Act and said I'm being discriminated against. What the fuck, bro? Like this is why, and this is why folks were like willing to let Bill Burr go with what he said on Saturday Night Live. And like the fact that there were white women upset with the fact that Bill Burr said that, like, this is the reason why. Like, the acts like this is the reason why people were willing to let Bill Burr ride with that shit on Saturday Night Live, man. But yo, man, that has been Blue Blazes.
What in blue blazes is going on out here? Did this nigga just say blue blazes?
All right. Now, normally, we would be doing Proud to be an American today. But we're not. We are not going to be doing Proud to be an American today because we got some shit that we need to cover. You know, your man Spann been talking about Ice Cube quite a bit this week. A lot of shit has been going on with Ice Cube quite a bit this week. And so we're going to examine this shit. And only one segment of this show will properly encompass the shit that Ice Cube has involved himself with and everything surrounding it. And that's this. In the Black community, pseudo-consciously based offenses are considered especially heinous. In the Yonk right, the dedicated misogynists who perpetuate frauds are members of an elite squad known as a special Hotep unit. These are their stories. All right, now, it's special Hotep unit time here at the Spann Report podcast, man. And, you know, I hate this come to this. I really do. So we've talked about this a few weeks ago. And I even made a cut out a separate part of the podcast and made it a video. And I was asking a fundamental question, which is whether or not Ice Cube was a chaos agent, right? Like, because a few weeks ago, Ice Cube was talking about, holding the black vote hostage. He was echoing some of that shit that Diddy was talking about, who decided he was going to come up with a political party like 18 days before the fucking election. That makes a lot of sense. Like those of, like, say, Charlemagne the God, and like all that, we're gonna hold our vote and all this other shit, right? Now, Diddy has since come around and said he's gonna vote for Joe Biden. He endorsed Joe Biden, this and the other, right? But Ice Cube, when he initially came out, was talking about some, people who would tell you to go vote and not ask for something they suspect, this, that, and the other. And as we talked about this here on the show, is like, when we talk about people going to vote, obviously there's a contrast in how we're telling people to vote, or what we believe would be their voting within, for their interests, especially as it pertains to black people, right? So the fact that, like, Cube came into this relatively late into the process threw a lot of people like, man, what the fuck is he really doing? Right. In much the same way that, like, with Kanye jumping in bed with Donald Trump and everything else, like, what the fuck is he really doing? And why would he allow himself to be used in such a way? And a lot of folks, that question is being asked of Ice Cube. How and why would you allow yourself to be used in such a way? And Ice Cube, as of right now, doesn't believe he's being used, but trust and believe the nigga is being used. Right. And, like, one of the things that so he's got this contract with Black America, right? And over the course of a few interviews, he's explained that, like, he came to his radicalization, so to speak, or his activation, so to speak, after the death of George Floyd, where he's like, after the death of George Floyd, I assumed that, like, at first I assumed that a lot of the things that I was asking for that's in the contract with Black America were being done, but I looked around and they weren't, and so I stepped forward and everything else, right? And he was on Roland Martin, so we're gonna play a lot of that Roland Martin interview, because there's a few different points on it I kind of want to point out where Ice Cube is fucking up royally. But yeah, so he decided he was gonna come up with his contract with Black America, and he submitted it to the Biden campaign, and he submitted it to the Trump campaign, and he said the Biden campaign told them, like, yeah, we like a lot of the stuff that's in here, we'll talk to you after the election. And then he said the Trump campaign said, yeah, we like a lot of the stuff that's in here, let's see what we can we holler at you, can we work with you? And he said he was willing to do that, right? Off top, that willing to work with the Trump administration at this point, a lot of people are very skeptical of, because Donald Trump has been president for 3.5 years. If Donald Trump was interested at all in helping Black people in any significant way, he's had 3.5 years to do it. He hasn't done so. And there have been many instances where Donald Trump could have, tamped down a lot of the rhetoric, could have kept, he could have not hoodwink, or like did the winking and nod to a lot of white supremacists and those who are attempting to suppress the votes of African American people in this country. But he's chosen not to do so. So the fact that Ice Cube at this late juncture feels as though he can talk to these campaigns and that they're both the same side of this, of the coin or whatever else, which is a false equivalence, and we'll get to that shit too. But, like, the fact that he's doing this at this particular juncture, 18 days out, 20 days out, a few months, well, we only got two choices. Where was he in 2018? People are asking these questions of Ice Cube, right? And it's unfortunate that Ice Cube's answers about these questions are sorely motherfucking lacking, right? And one of the things that made me think about, really made me think about was Lee Atwater. For those of you who are not familiar with the name of Lee Atwater was a Republican strategist. I believe he worked for the Richard Nixon campaigns. He worked for the Ronald Reagan campaign, and he was articulating in an interview. He articulated the tactics around the Southern strategy, so to speak. And with the Southern strategy, what they ended up doing was, it was a way in which they spoke about policy. And when they spoke about policy, they would use innocuous language, and it would be in language that, you know, any reasonable person would be like, so that's what that is. Okay, then I ain't got no problem with that. But ultimately, the actual effectiveness of the legislation and the policy affected blacks and minorities in a much more adverse way than it did white folks, right? And so you've got black people who were sometimes championing these policies, not knowing that they were also amplifying a message that could adversely affect their communities. And I feel like Ice Cube right now is being used in that way, right? Where Ice Cube is aligning himself, although he says he doesn't endorse Trump, but the fact that he's being seen in any sort of way right now as linked to the Trump administration is problematic. And so I kind of want you guys to listen first here to this interview with Lee Atwater as he explains a bit of the Southern strategy and how they talked about policy and how they, dog whistling, so to speak, right? We're saying one thing, but we're saying another thing too at the same time. And if you're acute enough on what we're really meaning, you'll pick up on it. So let me see if I can pull this up. Where is that? Okay, do I have it? Yeah, I do have it. So let me pull this up and we're going to listen. This is Lee Atwater. I believe this was they said it's in 1981. So let me go ahead and pull this up so you guys can watch right along with. Here we go. Check this out, y'all. In this audio made public for the first time ever, Atwater lays out how the Republicans can win the vote of racists without sounding racist.
Here's how
themselves.
I would approach that issue as a statistician or a political scientist, or no, as a psychologist, which I'm not, is how abstract you handle the race thing. In other words, you start out, and now y'all aren't quoting me on this. You start out in 1954 by saying nigger, nigger, nigger. By 1968, you can't say nigger. That hurts your backfire. So you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights, and all that stuff. And you're getting so abstract now, you're talking about cutting taxes, and all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things, and the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites. And subconsciously, maybe that is part of it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we're doing away with the racial problem one way or the other. You follow me? Because obviously sitting around saying we want to cut taxes, we want to cut this, and we want is much more abstract than even the busing thing, and a hell of a lot more abstract than nigger, you know. So any way you look at it, race is coming on the back burner.
All right. So yeah. And we hear a lot of that, and we see a lot of that in how we talk about policy today, where they talk about voter ID laws, right? And they'll talk about it in an innocuous way, like, well, shouldn't you have to have an ID in order to go vote, you know? And never mind how difficult it can be for some people to obtain like the proper identification for them to be able to vote, right? Like take, for instance, someone who was born, like a senior citizen who was born, in a time where they weren't issuing birth certificates, or their birth certificate can never be found, right? But they need that as part of their identification credentials in order to apply to register to vote and everything else. And so we see a lot of that happening today. And like with Ice Cube, like Cube again, although he may say right now that he isn't endorsing anybody, being seen as linked to this guy at this particular point in like the nation is like, come on, man. Like, think about this for a second. Steve Harvey met with Donald Trump after his inauguration. I don't know if it was after the inauguration or after he had won the election and he was just president-elect. But Steve Harvey went and met with Donald Trump. Steve Harvey got shit from the black community because the black community wasn't fucking with Trump then. Jim Brown was going up there to go meet with Donald Trump. And I don't know what the fuck Jim Brown was going up to meet with Donald Trump with or for, but what has resulted from Jim Brown going to meet Donald Trump? what resulted from Steve Harvey going to meet with Donald Trump? Like, what policies actually came from that, right? So Ice Cube saying, well, okay, they wanted to take part of my, my contract with Black America. They came out with the platinum plan, which I'm still thinking like, man, who the fuck came up with that name? It's like even the name right now is like, man, so y'all just think black folks is like into shiny shit, okay? But then you've got the Trump administration coming out on Twitter. Katrina Pearson, who's been a Trump campaign surrogate for quite some time. She was a campaign surrogate. She used to be on TV for him quite a bit when he was running in 2016, announced that Ice Cube was a part of helping them come up with the platinum plan, right? Now, Cube would say he wasn't being used, but he has to know that at this particular juncture, like, them attaching themselves to anybody of his stature in pop culture space means a lot to them, because a whole lot of public people ain't fucking with the Trump campaign. They're just not, right? So I'm gonna play a bit of this Roland Martin interview with Ice Cube, because he went to Roland Martin. He said, here's the other tripped out part. So Cube initially was scheduled to go on CNN, the Chris Cuomo show. And then suddenly, like, he came back out, like something like somehow that got canceled initially. And he said something about them not being able to handle the truth and that he had been banned from CNN, this, that, and the other. Eventually that actually happened, though. He was on Chris Cuomo last night. I saw it. Right. But before he got on Chris Cuomo show, he was on Roland Martin Unfiltered. And so I'm gonna pull this up because we got a bit to break down. So and this is part of the reason why we're not doing Proud to Be an American, because we got quite a bit to break down. And there I got the timestamps of the things that I really wanted to kind of address from what I got from it. So we're gonna get through this quite, we won't be playing the whole 37 minutes of this interview is what I'm saying. So here we go. We're gonna start here. And they were asking Cube, like, what part of the platinum plan supposedly mirrors what's going on with the contract with Black America that he developed. So here we go. Let me pull what's that, 620? Okay. So let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with. All right. Here we go. Check this out, y'all.
But when your contract, it lists these 13 different points here. And again, in their plan, what do you see in the platinum plan they released that mentions that mirrors anything that's in yours?
You got, if I'm looking at it, agreeing to direct VC money to Black investment companies up to $40 billion.
See, a lot of people have been talking about
That's
this
all he had.
$500 billion. That's not going to Black people. In fact, that's just actually the infrastructure funding program. That's not actually $500 billion going to Black people. And then when they say,
well, how many billion is the other one given to Black people?
No. That's not. No, I'm saying.
Okay, here's the thing. So he was asked what part of the platinum plan mirrored what he had in the contract with Black America, and he talked about them putting venture capitalist money into Black ventures. And Roland is pointing out to him that the $500 billion that is a part of the platinum plan is actually just part of the general United States government fund for development, but it isn't necessarily earmarked specifically for Black people. And so Ice Cube in this moment was like, well, what about the other one? What the other people talking about? Talking about Joe Biden's plan right now. Mind you, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, that Joe Biden had a plan, not just one plan, but two plans, one for economic prosperity and one for the social justice aspect for Black Americans. And he had that shit up back in March. The plan's been available on the website. Both of those plans. The one of those plans is 22 pages long, right? So he hadn't read the other plan. He hadn't read it. He's asking Roland right now. Well, how much is the other plan talking about giving them? Like, if you had read the plan, you know that, right? And so off top, I'm like, yo, and I see a lot of people, because it's Ice Cube, they're like, yo, man, like, it's Cube though. Like, and y'all tearing down another black man. Like, it ain't about tearing him down. It's like, listen, dude, if you're gonna get up here talking this shit, know what you're talking about, man. You on a national fucking platform. CNN is talking to you. Why else would they be talking to you other than the fact that you're famous? Know what you're talking about if you're gonna do this sort of shit. And so he obviously hadn't read the plan. There was plans available before his contract with Black America, before this, this so-called platinum plan by the Trump administration, and yet he's allowed himself to be linked, although not endorsed, but linked to the Trump administration when it comes to what they're going to do for black people when he's been president for 3.5 years and ain't did jack shit. So, yeah, I just noticed that, man. Like, he's talking about so what is the other people talking about? Had you read the plan, you'd already know, and you wouldn't be asking that question.
And that's not even, they list this thing under Black economic empowerment and access to capital. It says seek infrastructure funding that will lead to widespread growth in the annual $500 billion federal contracting opportunities. Even that line right there is not for black people. That's federal contracting opportunities for everybody. So that's not, so they're trying to make it sound like, oh, $500 billion to black people. It's not. That's the actual annual program overall for everybody.
Yeah, I understand what you see in that.
I understand what you're seeing there. So yeah, man. When it came to trying to figure out what was in the platinum plan and how it mirrored what may have been in the contract with Black America, he had that one point, and like even that was not necessarily specific. And he seemed even like unsure with whether or not the conversation would even go on beyond that. The other part that I kind of wanted to highlight, it says, does Cube believe he was being used by the Trump campaign? And he kind of spoke to that too. This is a question that I had, and it came up during the interview. So let me see if I can pull that up. What part was that? Okay, it's right here. All right, so check this out.
For their purposes, as opposed to really what happened.
Look, I knew
whoever ourselves to Ice Cube. Did you believe that you were used politically for their purposes as opposed to really what happened?
Look, I knew whoever I engaged with would use that politically. I don't care about that part. The part I care about is getting something done. Look, my plan is called the contract with Black America. So all of them lacking when it comes to that. So
it's clear already he hadn't even read the Biden plan. It's already clear that he hadn't read the shit, right? So he's talking about whose plans are lacking and all these other things. You didn't even know what Joe Biden had been offering. You're asking Roland Martin questions about their plan, having not read the damn thing. This is like...
that's what I'm pushing. So anybody who's going to implement those plans into their plan, then I'm going to take a look at it. But both plans are lacking, and that's why we become educated voters for real, and then you pick who you want to pick. But at the end of the day, for us not to engage with both sides of the aisle to fix this, which I think is an American problem, that to me ain't going to help us in the end.
All right. So here's another thing that I think, here's another part that I think Cube is like really kind of fucking up on. And it's the idea that both sides are the same, right? That we have to engage both sides in similar ways in order to get the results in which we want. Right now, one side is clearing away an adversary to the advancement of Black people. And that's the side, ironically, that he's right now linked to. And this is part of the reason why Black people are giving him the shit that they're giving him, because he's linked himself to people who have decided that like the votes of Black people don't necessarily matter unless right now we can use it politically, right? And so you know, there's like we've talked on this show ad nauseum about voter suppression. We talked on this show ad nauseum about some of the ways in which the criminal justice system has not necessarily worked for Black people. We've talked about how the Republican apparatus at this particular juncture has allowed for that to happen and continue to do so. And they cheer on the results of the current system as it is. We've seen people attached to the Trump administration talk about, say, for instance, the killers of Breonna Taylor. Like, the attorney general for that particular state, Kentucky, is a Republican, strong Mitch McConnell ally, strong Donald Trump supporter, spoke at the Republican National Convention, right? We talk about, like, felons getting the right to vote in the state of Florida. The person who was, like, standing in staunch opposition to that, current governor of the state of Florida, Republican, Ron DeSantis. So, like, there are example after example after example of the people with whom he's linking himself with. And I know he keeps, like, again, I'm saying linked. I'm not saying he endorsed them, but right now he's linked to these people. Got to understand it. He's linked to them. You're linked to people who have been adversarial towards the advancement of people of color or Black people, however you want to describe us. He's been linked to these folks, and they've been adversarial to us, and thinking that if I talk to them, then suddenly, like, you know, maybe we can come up with some sort of deal and everything else. And it made me think of this shit when I was listening to him talk. And for those of you who are fans of The Wire, you might be able to kind of latch on to this too, but it made me think of this particular moment between Avon Barksdale and Stringer Bell. Avon Barksdale representing most of Black America and Cube representing Stringer Bell.
That nigga took our money, man. I seen it coming. Well, he gotta go. Nah, you a fucking businessman. You want to handle it like that. You don't want to get all against the wild with it and shit, right? What I tell you about playing them fucking away games? Yeah. They saw your ghetto ass coming from miles away, nigga. You got a fucking beef with them? That shit is on you.
It made me think of that, right? Because right now, he's mad that, like, yo, like, I'm not linked with them. I'm not endorsed with them. I didn't work with them. They took the look at my plan, this, that, and the other. And, like, he's upset with us, or necessarily not even, he's like, don't shoot the message and all this other shit. Like, nah, nigga, we trying to tell you. We trying to tell you there's a reason why the vast majority of Black people ain't fucking with this dude. And the evidence has been overwhelming over the course of the last 3.5 years, had you been paying attention. And had you also been watching the other famous Black dudes that this motherfucker has tried to use in order to gain inroads with Black people. Notice it's mainly Black men that he's targeting to use that way. Right? Check out Kanye West. Now, Kanye West, like, people have kind of like given Kanye sort of like, well, Kanye kind of crazy, this, that, and other, but Kanye West hasn't necessarily been canceled. Them Yeezys still sell. People still buying his clothes, or, you know, that kind of shit or whatever. People still fucking with Kanye shit. Chrisette Michele can't say the same. Chrisette Michele got canceled. And you know why? Because her audience is primarily Black women, and Black women do not fuck with Donald Trump in no measure at all. I believe they said maybe 2% of Black women, you know, there's always that, you know, that eyeball nigga, you know, but nobody fucks with him like that. And so him latching himself to this, talking about it's for the betterment of Black people, and we got to engage with both sides, this, that, and other. Like, nah, man, some people you don't really have to fuck with at all. You ain't got to shake every goddamn hand. You ain't got to talk to every goddamn person, man. Like, you can work around a motherfucker if you need to. And if you do the things that you need to do politically, like, say, for instance, okay, Donald Trump wants to get this shit done or whatever, and he stands in stark opposition to what the fuck we need, then we need to make sure that we have a government that's going to make sure that that's going to hold him accountable. Have a Senate and the House of Representatives that's going to make this motherfucker do what the hell we want him to do, as opposed to him just dictating us what the fuck is going to happen to us. Fuck that. We ain't got to just, like, engage with him directly. We can bend the motherfucking government to our will if we play the game correctly. But linking ourselves to a motherfucker simply because he got the title of president right now, and you talking about he's the man in power, and you think he's going to do this shit unilaterally? No, nigga, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this shit works. So, yeah, man. Let's see. What's another part? 14. Here's another thing. There's another question. that was coming up. Okay, Trump's plans for black men, because this is actually where Roland Martin talked about when we talked about black men. There's a lot of brothers, man, who are susceptible to this shit, who are susceptible to this messaging, and they kind of break down how that came to be. So let me go ahead and pull this up, and we'll break this down too.
Yeah. Now, you said that, of course, Trump didn't stop all these things or didn't mention these things. Okay, maybe it was before he knew he needed the black vote as much as he do. You never know. This is what deals are made of. So I don't know what they're gonna do.
No. That's actually that's not the case. Hold on. I can tell you personally. No. Hold up. You said before you knew the black vote. I just want to just correct something, Ice Cube. I'm gonna let you finish. I just want to correct something. I met with the White House in 2018. They told me directly in 2018, we think we can get 20% black male support in the 2020. So it didn't. They were fully aware of that.
Why'd you meet with him? Why'd you meet with him?
I'm a journalist.
Why'd you meet with him?
I'm a journalist.
What'd you meet with him to talk about?
I'm a journalist. I met with them to talk about public policy issues, to ask them those various
public
questions.
Policy issues, and
right.
Thing was
Now, notice how agitated he got with Roland Martin for meeting with the Trump administration. Like, well, why was you meeting with him? Like, again, know who you talking to, know who you dealing with. Like, Ice Cube right now seems to have this oblivious motherfucking existence right now where he doesn't even understand why people would be talking to certain people, why people would have the ideas that they do, why people don't fuck with Donald Trump the way that they don't right now. Like, he's oblivious to a lot of this shit. And truthfully speaking, he admits to it in this shit that he wasn't even politically inclined until the death of George Floyd. You've had 3.5 years of this nigga in the motherfucking office, and that's what got you? It took that? God, man. I swear, brothers, I swear, we can't be this fucking simple. We can't be this fucking simple. Bottom line, man, it's way too much shit on the line for us to act this motherfucking oblivious, to be this oblivious, and to act this fucking simple, to think that, well, me meeting with Trump is going to get something. What has it gotten any of those niggas that met with him the last 3.5 years? What has he shown you at all? The last 3.5 years. Honestly. Oh, man. That's not it. That's not all of it. Hold on.
To get 20% of the vote.
No, you're right. Okay. No, they said not 20% of the vote.
Did they think they was going to get that for free?
Right. This is what they said. They said they believe they could get 20% of the black male vote, and they specifically said they were going to use criminal justice reform and economic policies.
Why did they think they can get 20% of the black male vote? Why do they think that?
He's trying to explain the shit to him, and right now he's not even allowing him to explain the shit because he's upset right now. Ice Cube right now is being challenged on the shit that he's been saying. He's upset right now. He won't even allow the man to tell him exactly what the Trump administration, the people he's linked to tell him exactly what the fuck they've been saying about how they're going to attract to themselves to black men. Just
because they said they think that they can appeal to disaffected black men. They point blank, they know black women don't like them.
Why can they appeal to that demographic? Who's not?
So also keep in mind, and this is Ice Cube's tell without telling it. He keeps bringing this back to what the other plan was, what the other side is saying. The focus right now is what the Trump administration has said about black men and how they can appeal to black men and how they can use black men in order to advance the agenda that they want to promote. And so right now, Ice Cube is making this about, well, what is the Democrats talking about? Right? How do they think that they can appeal to black men? Why do Republicans feel that they can do that? As if it's a democratic deficit because they're attracting black men. It's like, hey, listen, black men and black women and black LGBT and like this community isn't like just one thing. And so in coming up with like this contract with Black America, like the only people with whom Q was thinking about when he came up with that was black men. And so to have like this adversarial sort of response to, listen, the Trump administration feels like they can attract black men. And you instantly go to, so what about what the Democrats is doing? It ain't the same shit. It's not the same shit. And the evidence has been clear as day for the last 3.5 years, how the Trump administration, how this current rendition of the Republican Party has exerted itself over the past 3.5 years since Trump has been in office. Like, I want y'all to I implore you, man. I implore you. Please don't be so fucking simple. No, that wasn't it.
Not appealing to that demographic. How can they swoop in and get it?
Who?
That should have been covered.
What do you mean?
This is what I'm asking. How can they swoop in and get something that's supposed to be covered?
Well, first of all, that's not the case because in 2012, between Obama and Romney, there was a 9-point gap between black men and black women who voted for Obama and Romney. In 2013, with Trump and Hillary Clinton, that expanded to 13%. Now, when you look at 2020, they believe that, we think there's an opportunity here for us to be able to appeal to black men on economic policies because they say black women can't stand it.
Well, it's not being done for black men in this country that the number's growing.
Because first of all, because the difference between black men and black women, black men are more likely to be.
Why don't the
hold up. You asked the question. I'm gonna answer it because this is from focus groups, from polling data. Black men are more appealed by Trump's anti-immigration position than black women. That's one. That's one of the issues there. One of the issues that we also see is that we've seen where black men feel as if the Democrats have appealed more to black women than black men. Thirdly, Donald Trump, by touting the First Step Act, saying he got criminal justice reform done and Democrats didn't, which is actually a lie. The mistake that Democrats have made is they haven't taken credit for the First Step Act because if the Democrats don't pass it in the House, it actually don't get done. And so they see an opportunity to be able to target black men who are disaffected by both parties by appealing to their pocketbooks, their 401ks, by using tax policy. And that's what their strategy is.
All right. So, yeah, man. Some away games, man. Like, and here's the other part about this. And I get this feeling that like Ice Cube, I get the feeling that Ice Cube is used to being in the room because of who he is. Ice Cube is used to being in rooms where people simply defer to what he's saying because Ice Cube is the decision maker. Ice Cube is the money maker. And like we're going to roll with what Cube says. I feel like at this particular moment, Ice Cube has been so far removed from being challenged on a lot that he's not used to the scrutiny. And he's bristling at the scrutiny. So when he's having a discussion with somebody who's actually learned it on some of these issues, who does this on a daily basis, he's woefully unprepared. And also, not even just like someone like a Roland Martin, but anybody who's been dealing with public policy, anybody who's been dealing in government for the better part of the last 10, 15, 20 years or whatever, and who's working in these capacities, like they see somebody like Ice Cube coming a mile a fucking way. Here's somebody who believes that like, yo, I got this revolutionary motherfucking plan and they need to jump on this plan and I'm gonna hold the black vote for hostage. And true enough, and I say this not to disparage rappers, but like, yo, man, think about how motherfucking arrogant you got to be like, yo, man, Ice Cube rapper, developed a plan for black America. Y'all need to get with it or black people ain't gonna vote. And fuck all of the work that, black economists, black educators, black social leaders, black fucking organizers, community organizers, black academics, all of the work that these people have put in and already presented in legislation, already had legislation that passed and was waiting for further passage from the Senate and the White House. And you believe it like, yo, man, they ain't doing nothing. So I got to do something. Think about how motherfucking arrogant that is, man. Think about how motherfucking self-centered and self-serving that is for you to believe that like at this particular juncture, we need you of all people. It's you that we need to get behind and fuck all the work that all these other people have been doing. Like there's a level of disrespect there that I think a lot of people have taken notice to when it comes to Ice Cube and a lot of this bullshit he's been talking about these last few days. As much as you may like You may gravitate yourself towards this contract of Black America as much as you may like Ice Cube and believe that people are being hard on Ice Cube for no reason. Like people, it's not that people don't have no reason to criticize Ice Cube, and it's not to say that his effort isn't necessarily like something for the benefit of Black people. I think the ways in which he's going about it is what people are really fucking mad at, like, and how he's going about it, the timing of it, all of this shit. Also, with whom he's trying to do this with, and the evidence that we have that these people don't mean us no good. So, the other part about this is like the question was asked during this interview, like, yo, why the fuck are you just now getting into this game? Right. And this is the question that I asked weeks ago. Like, hey, man, like they didn't have a primary. It was like 18 motherfucking Democrats on that side. You could have been like advocating for this shit months ago, like last year, 2018. Where the fuck was you? They actually brought this up during the interview. So let me go ahead and play that and we can talk about it.
They said, why is Ice Cube only talking about this contract now? So the person wanted me to ask, where is Ice Cube doing the primary? Where is he in 2018? How do you answer people who say that?
I was actually just, being an artist, rapping, thinking all this stuff was covered, thinking people that actually was in power was out doing their job, making sure they had something specifically for Black people to win. And when I looked up, I realized all this stuff is not specifically for Black people. It's for minorities. It's for people of color. It's for everybody but us. So, I had to kind of take it upon myself to do something that was strictly for Black people and write something up with some very smart, educated people and come up with a plan. It all happened after George Floyd was killed. So that's where I've been. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't have to do it if it was being done.
But actually...
Okay. So right now he's saying he wouldn't have to do these things if it was already being done. Let me tell you something, man. Ice Cube right now is making the mistake that a lot of people make. I've made that mistake. Everybody's made it at some point in their lives, right? Ice Cube is equating the things that he's aware of with the things that aren't happening, right? So if I'm not aware of a particular thing, therefore that thing doesn't exist to me, therefore those things aren't happening. And it's all contingent upon my level of awareness, right? Now, there may be things going on that I might not necessarily be aware of that are speaking to the very things that I'm talking about. But because I'm aware of them, I kind of look silly saying that those things are happening when there are other people who can bring that to my attention. Like, oh, so that shit you were saying wasn't happening? Yeah, they doing that around the corner, right? You hear a lot about that. Like, say for instance, you would hear this topic come up. Like, so when people would talk about Black Lives Matter, right? White people use this tactic all the time, right? Black Lives Matter. You guys only show up when the police shoot one of you guys. You guys are killing each other like flapjacks over there. You only show up when the police do it. But when Pookie shoots fucking Ray Ray, man, you guys are nowhere to be fucking found, man. You only show up when the fucking news cameras show up, man. And you want to talk about how bad the police are, but you're never around when you guys are killing each other, man. It's fucking bullshit. I'm tired of hearing it. You see that all the time. Meanwhile, in the hood, in various cities across the country, there are always some sort of anti-violence initiatives going on within the inner city. There's ceasefire initiatives going on within the city. We talk about, I talked about this years ago. There was a program in Chicago called The Interrupters, right? Where they were former gang members who would go, who had the credibility of being a part of the gang within the neighborhood, who had put in the work, so to speak, and they would go into these neighborhoods, and when things would happen, they would try to get into the middle of that to keep something else from happening, right? This is a state-funded program. They cut the funding for that program, right? And then guess what else happens? After they gut the funding for that program, and then violence tends to go up, guess what happens? Oh, 54 people were shot in the south side of Chicago this weekend. What about the south side of Chicago? There's always a shooting. There's always people getting killed over there. What the fuck's going on down there? Like, they always do this, right? And part of it is because they aren't aware and they don't really give a fuck. They don't care what's going on in those neighborhoods. So I say all of that to say this. You not being aware of something does not mean that something doesn't exist. Ice Cube is making that motherfucking mistake right now to say that, like, yo, I wasn't aware of these other things that were happening, so therefore I decided I was going to step up and I was going to do this. Stepping on and denigrating and disrespecting the people who are already out there putting in that work, right? Just because you are not aware of some shit doesn't mean that shit isn't in place, man. Doesn't mean it's not happening. So that was one part that I kind of wanted to address to this interview. The other part about this was, and this is something that I thought was very disrespectful that Cube said too. Yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and pull this up. He believes that like nothing has been happening for Black people. So
over 7,000 Black people elected in office in high positions throughout this country. Over 7,000. And we haven't moved an inch. So don't ask me where have I been. The question is, where the hell are you at?
Well, here's the deal, though.
Again, this is said by somebody who's been clearly uninformed and not even inclined to be informed, right? This is said by somebody who is not necessarily aware of, not necessarily aware of all of the legislation that had been blocked, all of the legislation that had been proposed, all of the legislation that had been repealed, all of the things that were being that were being put in place in which to help Black people progress, right? So one of the biggest issues that we have right now is the issue of criminal justice. Like, you know, he talked about George Floyd's killing, activating him to get, you know, to put something on the table, so to speak. And one of the things that I think is very interesting was like, yo, when Barack Obama was president of the United States and we had Eric Holder was the Attorney General of the United States, what they were doing was during like the initial like move for the Black Lives Matter movement, what they were doing was they were going into police departments across the country and they were enforcing consent decrees, right? Now the consent decrees were to initiate some reforms to get the police department to work on an equitable level and to get them to actually adhere to the laws as it applied to who they were policing and how they policed them, right? One of the very first things that this Trump administration did when they came into power, at the time, Attorney General Jeff Sessions repealed those consent decrees, right? And they may have, I think, issued only one consent decree afterwards after that. So in the last 3.5 years, there's been one consent decree on one police department in all of the nation, right? We talk about how they've tried to reverse some of the criminal justice reforms as far as like the crack to cocaine disparity, like the charging and like the how they charge Black people, how they charge the differences between crack and possession of crack and powder cocaine, like trying to repeal a lot of that stuff back. We see they're trying to get rid of Obamacare and everything else. Like for those of you who believe that the Obama administration didn't do shit and weren't trying to advance or wasn't trying to do anything for the advancement of Black people, ironically, the Trump administration is finding shit damn near every day to try to pull back, right? All of these rights that we think we have, all of these rights that we think we got in stone, the Republican Party and this Trump Republican Party in particular is playing this shit like a game of Uno and pulling the motherfucking reverse card on us.
Reverse.
That's what it is, right? So, yeah, man, like to say that there's been no progress, man, as they try to pull back on the progresses that we made is disrespectful as fuck to the work that everybody who came before yo just got it activated as did, man. So yeah, that's on there. Now, another part of this interview that I thought was interesting is that Alicia Garza was brought in on this interview, and she asked Q, who did he consult when he developed or started to develop this contract with Black America? And honestly, man, I'm gonna just say this, man. The answer was very motherfucking telling, and it crystallized so much for me. But here we go.
Hey, Cube, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Good. So, I mean, I guess my first question would be, you know, we're in the midst of an incredible movement moment. Folks are all over the country, have been organizing for over 7 years, if not longer, trying to turn Black Lives Matter into a movement that can impact not just protest, but also policy. I did have a chance to read both versions of the contract with Black America, and I'm just curious, are there activists or organizers in this movement that you've been connected to who have been doing some of this legislative advocacy and policy advocacy work?
Yeah, we connected with ADOS, and we helped get a bill passed in California. Governor Gavin Newsom passed AB 3121, which starts the conversation about reparations in California. So we have been connected with, a grassroots organization. We want to connect with as many grassroots organizations who are not connected to any other so-called powers that be, strictly grassroots. And we definitely want to connect with them, people who definitely have no ulterior motives, who really just want to see money get in the hands of the people who built this country and the ancestors and family of the people that built this country.
All right. Now, the answer to that question was, like, she asked him who he had been talking to in order to come up with this contract with Black America. And he said ADOS. That crystallized so much for me. That made suddenly it made sense as to why Cube and went down this road and he's become a part of the Special HOTEP unit. We've already talked about how the ADOS movement, or those connected with starting the ADOS movement, have already been promoting Donald Trump as a political option for them, right? We've talked already how the ADOS movement is attempting to divide up Black Americans on this descendants of slavery versus those of you who may have come on another whose folks may have gotten dropped off on another boat, right? And the problem with this idea that we need a special designation between ADOS and those who are, maybe from the Caribbean, maybe you come from Haiti, maybe you come from the Dominican Republic, maybe you come from Puerto Rico, maybe you come from Mexico, Bermuda, wherever you come from, right? Maybe you're just an immigrant from the continent, from Nigeria or Cameroon or wherever you come from, right? You come to America and you live in America as a Black person in America. I'm gonna tell you something right now. When a white person looks at you, they don't give a fuck if you from Nigeria. They don't give a fuck if you from the Cameroon. They don't give a fuck if you from Detroit. They look at you as another nigga, right? They look at you as another nigga. And so for like this ADOS shit that Ice Cube and somebody like, what's my man? Tariq Nasheed was on this dumb shit. They call themselves foundational Black Americans. Like they even the branches are branching the fuck off on each other, right? But what you do is you separate Black people from Black people, and when you separate Black people from Black people, we don't have that oomph right here, and it's all simply divide and motherfucking conquer. So if you got a nigga like Ice Cube, someone with the prominence of Ice Cube, who's at this point done, he went from motherfucking fuck the police to are we there yet, right? Amazing growth. But then you find out this nigga is like politically, he's thinking at 51 the same way he was at 22, right? So when he said he was aligned, he aligned himself with ADOS, and these were the people who helped him craft this particular contract with Black America and everything else. And like you could tell this in his language when he started talking about it. He's talking about minorities and they talking about people of color. No, I'm talking about Black people. Like, nigga, like when they decide, when you in front of when the police pull you over, they don't give a damn whether you from the continent, whether you from the islands, or whether your ass from Compton. Use a nigga to them, to this system. And dividing yourself or trying to separate yourself off ain't gonna help you not one bit. And then you're gonna find yourself looking to us, coming back, just like motherfucking Stringer Bell did, coming back to the Barksdale, like, yo, we need to go get this nigga. Like, nah, nigga. That's what you get for playing these fucking away games. That shit is on you. That shit is on you. So yeah, man. And lastly, Alicia Garza, she asked him this question about, like, of course, like I said, he's taking great pains to say he's not endorsed Donald Trump, but he's linked to them right now, right? He's saying he hasn't endorsed them, but he's linked to them. But she's trying to understand, like, with all of the things that are attached with Donald Trump, how then do you find yourself working with somebody like that? So she asked, it was a very pertinent question, and I want to play this here for you guys.
Do you think that Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization? Because I know for the last year I've been getting death threats. I have security now 24/7 because Donald Trump and his administration has been targeting me and Patrice and Opal and thousands of other activists across the country. I understand what you're saying about trying to talk to the people in power, but I think there is a difference here in terms of who we align ourselves with. And I can't at all say that I take a neutral stance here. You haven't endorsed Donald Trump explicitly, but I am just curious about how you meet those things and how you match those things. How do you put forward a Black agenda with a president that is attacking Black people, attacking Black organizers, attacking Black activists, and literally daring and threatening to throw us in jail for the organizing that we've been doing?
Well, I mean, both candidates, have their record of
there's that both sides shit
what they've done to Black people. You can look at them and see them out. I don't think Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. So that's what I think. What the president think about Black Lives Matter, that's his personal problem. Right now we feel that somebody's going to be the president. I would love to work with both parties. I'm not against the Biden campaign or nothing like that. Whoever becomes a president, I would definitely be pushing this program on them. And not only the presidents, but Congress people, senators, private sector, you name it. If you go through the contract, you could probably come up with a list of about 500 companies we can talk to about this situation. So the thing is, what I don't think is healthy for Black people is to automatically jump on one side, and if the other side loses, we just wait for 4 years to engage and hope our side win. It's time for us to let both sides understand this is a bipartisan issue like anything else going on in America.
Keith, I gotta ask you this.
All right. So yeah, that was the last thing on that. But the other thing, like, again, he's going back to that both sides shit. And it's clear that there isn't an equivalency there. He's operating under the pretenses of this false equivalency that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are operating in the same way, when the evidence is clear that they're not. The evidence is clear that they're not. One side is engaging the African American community, the Black community. One side is openly antagonistic towards us, and they will use certain Black people in order to appear not to be so. But they're openly antagonistic towards what would advance Black people in this country. And so, like, this both sides of the same coin, this lesser of two evils bullshit that, some niggas be on. Like, truthfully speaking, man, like, honestly, it's disappointing. It's disheartening to see a nigga of this stature fall for this, like, this low information bullshit, man. That's the thing that, like, bothers me. And this is why I've been so passionate about it. And this is why I've been talking about it so strongly, man, because, like, I can't stand to see us out here looking this crazy. I love us too much for us to be out here looking this motherfucking dumb, man. But yeah, man, he went on, he later went on Chris Cuomo's show, and Don, like, imagine being black checked by Don Lemon, bro. Like, Don Lemon, he of, like, pull your pants up and respectability and all of the other, like, imagine being black checked by him. But yo, man, yeah. Whew. That's been I was going to say proud to be in America. That's been Special Hotel, yo. In the Black community, pseudo-consciously based offenses are considered especially heinous. In the Yonk right, The dedicated misogynists who perpetuate frauds are members of an elite squad known as a special Hotep unit. These are their stories. Yeah, it's almost time for us to get on up out of here, y'all. I've been running my mouth for quite a bit, but y'all do know what time it is.
The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here!
All right. It's Champ of the Week time here at the Spann Report Podcast, man. And our Champ of the Week is none other than you, the black voter, man. The black voter. Especially the early black voter. I've seen images, folks are already posting the I voted stickers and shit and I voted pictures and whatnot, man. Shout out to y'all for going ahead and exercising that right, doing the right thing and making your voice heard in this democracy, doing what folks are trying to put constant obstacles in front of you to keep you from being able to do. Fighting long lines, being in lines for 7, 8, 11 hours for some, especially down south, man. Shout out to y'all for dealing with that headache, man, and getting it in, man, because I think what it really speaks to is the fact that like people are fed the fuck up, people are activated, people are heeding the call, heeding the message that they need to get out and exercise that franchise and get out and vote. And I cannot be prouder of those of you who have decided to take upon that, to take upon that mantle and make it yours and getting your voice heard, man. And real talk, man, it makes my heart feel big, man. Like it just make my chest feel big to be able to, and I know it's not so much about me, but just the fact that like you see people out here who are taking heed to the messaging, man, like getting their asses about there, go vote. And like even with the folks who are skeptical about the voting process, like as far as voting absentee or doing the drop box or whatever else, there are ways to track your ballots, man. Check your Secretary of State's offices. They have ways for you to, they can find out exactly when you applied for your shit, when you received your shit, when you filled your shit out, and when you turned your shit back in. They all of that shit. You can track that through your Secretary of State's websites, man. Get out there and exercise those rights to vote, and to see that over 20 million people have already decided to go ahead and cast those ballots, because we don't know what the post office is going to do. We don't know how the current Trump administration is going to try to throw a monkey wrench into this program. We've already seen Republicans try to, one, take advantage of your zeal to get your voice heard by coming up with fraudulent voter drop-offs or whatever. We've seen them try to limit the amounts of places where you could drop your ballots off. We've seen them lessen the amount of polling places for you to actually cast a ballot. We've seen them try to come up with different identification laws to keep you from casting a ballot. We've seen them try to institute polling poll taxes on the ex-felons in Florida to keep them from casting a ballot. Hey man, keep fucking fighting, keep getting it on. Get this motherfucker up out the paint come 2016, come 2020. Fuck what the hell Ice Cube, Kanye, and any of the rest of these sellout motherfuckers who are actually lining themselves up with this nigga, man. Like I said, I know he's going through great pains to say I didn't endorse anybody, but nigga, you know what time it is in 2020. Bottom line. So yeah, you guys, the early voters, the early black voters, y'all are champs of the week this week here at the Spann Report Podcast, man. Real talk. But it's time for me to get on up out of here. But before we do, of course, I do got to remind you guys how to get in touch with us here at the Spann Report Podcast and let your voice be heard. Go ahead and hit up that hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave those voicemail messages. Of course, those messages will get played here live on the show and responded to in kind. You can also email us here at feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails. Those emails will get played here. And read here and applied to here live on the show. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead, follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also, hit up our website at www.thespannreport.com. You can go there, watch replays of the show. You can vote in the polls when we put those polls up. You can leave comments there. You can donate to the show as often as you like, as much as you like. And of course, we really do appreciate every dime over here at the Spann Report Podcast Network. Also, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and or Stitcher Radio. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get read here live on the show. We really do appreciate everybody who goes about the business of doing that. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Spann Report podcast, man. Real talk. Also, hit up our store and get yourself some fly merch, man. Get yourself a hoodie, get yourself a face mask, man. We got those face masks in the store. And just support us in that way if you can, man. Real talk. We really appreciate everybody who does that as well. But it is time for us to get on up out of here. I enjoyed talking to you guys tonight, and I hope to hear from you guys again and talk to you guys again soon. But until next time, fam, peace.